Hey, Thomas. Hey, Casey. We'll just give it a couple minutes while everyone joins in. So we've got about 3, 4 minutes on the clock, and we'll let people get joined in. How are you guys doing today? How are you, Thomas? Doing well?
Nah, I'm up till like 3 or 4 o'clock, and then I get your posts on Facebook saying you're waking up at 3 or 4 o'clock. It's been an interesting flow.
Yeah, I get up really early. Typically I go to bed a little bit earlier, but I get up really early. So
Mhm.
so today's topic is going to be sales objections and objection handling. And then we are also going to talk about any questions that you guys may have in terms of the sales process, how to run pressure launches, how to sell on value. What we talked about last week was really important. We talked a lot about how to sell on value. We talked about ways to sell using the customer journey. We talked about various things in the sales process, how to run discovery calls. So today we're going to talk about a lot about how to run discovery calls, and then also just general questions on the sales cycle. I want to hear from you guys in terms of, what questions you have, what challenges you've encountered, how to, what objections you've encountered in terms of what a customer says when you try and pitch them. I know that one of the really challenging things that I found when I was selling SaaS in a really, concerted effort was that oftentimes customers come up with some crazy objections. And they're just that, they're just objections. So let me hear from Casey first, if you have a second. What kind of objections do you hear from customers when you are selling to them?
So I'm pretty new to high level and I'm just now beginning kind of some sales routines. Mainly it's I am probably not doing a good job of describing the service and how beneficial it is. So that's on me, really. But the cost was the second one.
Okay. And tell me, like, if I were a customer, go ahead and kind of give me your elevator pitch on the software if you are prepared.
Okay. So mostly we're gonna help like some med spas. We are in the medical and wellness industry, so our pitch is normally to newer businesses that are getting established, and I'm setting them up with conversational AI, the CRM platform, and possibly missed call text backs. And so we start off with, talking about how much business they're losing by not being able to communicate with everybody that calls, any lead that they're missing. And then we go into which of those aspects would work better for them and which ones we're using independently ourselves. And then we charge a setup fee. It varies. 500 is really the max of the setup fee that we're charging right now because we are new to kind of get businesses going. And then we go through the onboarding and set up with them.
Okay, and so you mentioned that you are how do you phrase when you're phrasing what you're selling to them? Are you phrasing it as a product slash widget, or are you phrasing it more as a value and a result?
Value and result. We can get the communication lines open with the leads that they're missing.
Okay, cool. So common objections on price. Everybody, if you're starting a business, you have budget to make money, right? And one of the things that I found really effective when I was out there selling, and this is before conversation AI, even back when the Eliza booking bot was a thing, in the early days of HighLevel, was how do you position yourself as the salesperson and or organization to be a profit center, not a cost, right? So I think one of the things that worked really well, or I know one of the things that worked really well, was asking them, like, what's every lead worth to you? And, in the med spa, like, what would you say the average lead value of a med spa lead is? Like, how much money do they make off of a lead that transacts a sale with them?
For us, just one sale is a $200 profit possibly. So
Yeah. So definitely, saying, hey, look, if you could, if I could guarantee that you close one more lead every single month, that pays for itself, in perpetuity, right? And so really structuring the objection handling to be focused on the value and opportunity for profit, and really driving home to that business owner that, look, we're not a cost, we're a profit center. Like, this is an opportunity for you to add additional volume to your income, and here's what we charge, here's your potential for what you could make, right? And when you're doing your discovery call, do customers typically know how many leads they're missing?
no, most know that they missed a few phone calls, or, you know, I don't think most of them that we've spoken with have really any idea of how many they're actually missing.
Okay. And are you like locking them into an annual contract? Is it month to month?
Yeah, month to
And
month.
and are you telling them, hey, look, try us for 3 months, and if this doesn't work out, I'll give you your money back?
No, we haven't done that, but we have offered them like a 14-day trial once we get the setup going, right? So it'll take me a second to build the bots and be sure they've provided me enough data for it to be efficient and effective. But once we get it built up, we do a 30-day money back guarantee. If they don't like the setup, if it's not working, if they can't see the value in it, then I'll give them their money back, their setup fee.
That's good. One of the things that we found at Pro Tools to be really successful is we offer a double your money back guarantee. And I think we've only ever had to execute it like once. Because generally speaking, like, if you can deliver the value to the business owner, and this comes with tracking and reporting. So you have to be meticulous about your tracking and reporting. And something that also really helps to ease a business owner's mind is showing them the call report, like an example call report from an existing customer, and showing them, hey, look, this is where you can see all of the calls that you're missing. Another opportunity for, I don't typically offer free trials, because especially when it comes to like paying ATP fees and all of this stuff, like, oftentimes the cost of the free trial is significantly higher than the value that you get as the agency. But one thing that I did find to be really effective is to turn on call reporting and then have them swap out their Google business number for their HighLevel number and just forward it to their desk phone. And you do that for 30 days and be like, look, for 30 days, because that's going to cost you a couple bucks in Twilio fees. because they're not outbound calling and they're not outbound SMSing. So you're not turning on missed call text spec, you're not turning on a bot, you're not doing anything other than just providing them with the call tracking. I found that to be a really good selling point, because then you can show them quantifiable data that says, hey, look, you missed 10 leads last month. If your close rate is 10%, that's one lead, right? And that one lead just paid for the software.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
So welcome, Trey. We are talking today about sales objections and kind of more of an open sales Q&A. So wanted to ask you, what are your common objections you get in the sales cycle?
I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, take your time, man. Let's move to Thomas. Tell me about common objections you get in your sales cycle.
So I'm actually terrified of sales, which is interesting. I'm from a family of salespeople, and so I can naturally sell and I can convince people why a product is good, but actually like bringing them along across the finish line, so to speak, I have had this mental hang up that I need like, my website with the booking, all of the onboarding automations dialed in, just as an engineer, product development systems thing. So that's what I've been working on. Unfortunately, I've been part of this program for 4 months and I haven't made a dollar with these systems, mostly because the system that I think need to be in place firsthand, which they kind of do, haven't been like built. We have lots of SOPs and everything, so that's been my personal hang up. Also, I've had this expectation of hiring sales teams and not really kind of being a sales forward focused, even though I know that I need to at least be able to do it in a fundamental way and communicate to any sort of team members that would be kind of placed in a position for hiring, and also setting up sales commission structures. It's a little atypical, the route that I'm taking, and I'm trying to be flexible. And I have tried to sell some people, but it's just, part of it too is it's a new marketing company, so it's like, how much trust do we have? And obviously HighLevel is established, so it's easy to sell the product. It exists, it's proven. But as someone to be able to guide people along and integrates, I realize that it's kind of like a waste of time to, for my business, I have the general marketing SaaS capabilities, but it's actually a distraction, and I've got a lot of recommendations to stay niche. So it's really just basically waiting until these products are developed to be able to bring to market, and strategic partnerships too.
Yeah, I think so. Let's talk about a little bit about the fear of closing. It's an internal objection that is really common amongst even veteran salespeople. Like, asking for money is hard. And it's not hard from an actual execution standpoint. Like, literally, you just have to say, like, hey, where's your checkbook? Obviously in a nicer way, but or slide, the typical, old school sales route, which was slide the contract across the table with a pen on it, right? And getting to that point where you're comfortable and you feel like you're able to ask for money, for a lot of people, again, even veteran salespeople and like myself, like I have a really hard time, or had some time ago, a lot of challenges with asking people to pay me, because my internal monologue said, am I worth it? Right. And I think, what you're talking about in terms of having a fear that's more around, my system being set up and all the things being perfect and everything like that, actually, like, if you back up the psychology of it a little bit, it kind of boils down to like an undervaluing of self, and an undervaluing of what you can provide, even in its current existing state, because you think that, like, in order for someone to, and you hit the nail on the head with my point, of saying that we're a new marketing company, people don't have trust in us, right? It's hard to not have that established company. And so why would people believe me that I can provide them value? And at the end of the day, like, I think that in order to break through that glass ceiling that you've established for yourself, it's really imperative that you practice, for one, and second, that you accept 80% of something is better than 0% of something, because what you're getting right now is 0%, and you're not even testing the existing system. Like when I first started selling SaaS, I had no process in place. Like I barely knew how to use HighLevel at the time. And but I got out there and I said, hey, look, like, and I was super transparent. I was like, look, we're a newer agency. We were an established marketing agency at the time. I said, look, we have this new product. I want you to roll with me. All right. Like, it's not going to be perfect. It may be a little bumpy, but I guarantee you that eventually you will see the value. Let's put a clock on eventually you will see the value. Here's my roadmap of what I have to do manually. And this applies to both the software that you're doing for the vacation rentals, the AI tool that you're building, as well as anyone selling SaaS. You don't have like it. If you had a volume problem, then I would say absolutely SOPs, onboarding procedures, like you need to have software ready to go and you need to be an expert in your field, but you don't have a volume problem, right? You're getting ones and twosies, opportunities that are coming through. It's okay for you to manually set them up. It doesn't take that long, especially if you build out, like if you're leveraging one of our snapshots or you build out a core framework for your industry. Welcome, Patrick. So just to give Patrick a quick update and pause on what I was talking about, we are covering objections, sales objections. We're talking about, fears of closing. So Thomas here was just talking about having what is really a natural fear of asking someone for money, because he doesn't think he's ready to ask people for money. He doesn't think that his product is ready. He thinks that he needs SOPs and onboarding process and all of this stuff really locked down and nailed in. And the advice that I was giving is that you don't. It's something that you have to figure out along the way, or it ends up being a never-ending ball of string that you're pulling on. Because when you're out there trying to sell this or not trying to sell it because you're concerned that you don't have something in place, you don't know what you need in place, right? And that's pretty common. Everyone overthinks. It's like, oh, in order to sell this product, I have to have all of these different widgets and features and softwares and plugins and all these different things ready to go. I have to have my snapshot fully baked. But I was talking to a gentleman named Greg Choate, who is one of the #1 bicycle fitters in the world. He does like Olympic bike fittings for athletes and cyclists. And we were talking about the industry of bike fitters. And he was telling me how he had kind of two sides to his argument. And the argument was, I'm not ready to get out there and sell this yet. And I said, why? And he said, well, because I need to get my snapshot done. I need to have my onboarding locked in. I need to have all these different things. And I was like, dude, what are you selling? And he's like, well, I'm selling a snapshot. I said, no, actually, you're selling a product or right now. And what you need to be selling is a value you're providing to people. I said, what value do you provide to people? And he said, oh, well, they can track their leads and they can follow up with their leads. And I said, great. So do bike fitters currently track their leads or follow up with their leads? And he said, no. And I said, so then already you have a product you can sell. right? So even in its existing state in high level, for the majority of people that you're working with, or in the vacation rental industry for your beta clients, or this AI product for your beta clients, looking at it from a standpoint of I'm not ready, is one of those self-fulfilling prophecies that, like I was saying, it turns into a ball of string, because what happens is you say, I need all of these things, and you make a lot of assumptions, right? And assumptions are like buttholes. Everyone has one, and they're all terrible, right? And so when you make assumptions about your sales process or your customers or your product, invariably what you're doing is you're handicapping yourself. And so my advice to you and to everyone on the call, and for anyone watching this on YouTube, is that if you have an idea, you can sell an idea. Like, even if the product isn't built, and then you build it after you sell it, because you just have to be upfront and transparent with people about the fact that, hey, look, I'm working on this. Like, I've been selling this voice AI snapshot, and it wasn't ready. I had a basic demo of it, but we've been selling it because people are like, oh, wow, that looks cool. It sounds interesting. And I list out the features that I know I can accomplish. And then I say, hey, look, there's a 3-month window on getting this product. But if you want early access to it, pay now. And people pay for it. But you have to overcome that internal objection, because external objections are, very common, right? People complain about price. They say, I need my business partner to be here. They pull the I'm not the decision maker card. They pull the let me check my finances card. Like, there's all sorts of external objections you have to deal with on a regular basis. But the most catastrophic objection you receive is the one you give yourself. So that's kind of my advice on that. Any feedback on what I said, Thomas?
Well, there's more context. And so an example of what you're saying and how it's true is on that feedback form that I sent out last week. I already got someone who is talking about a client of theirs that still uses pen and paper ledgers for like their business. So it's like, clearly people, want solutions. And kind of it is just the mind's limiting. So I get that. I have overcome, and I'm ready to set up a pre-sale. And so the only thing that is like what I'm thinking now is, what would you say for a potential client's expectations if they are going to be putting money into the system up front in terms of timeline or deliverables? Like how would you go about thinking through that piece?
So it really comes down to what's realistic and being transparent. Because your timeline could be 1 month, it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, right? And as long as you're upfront and you can commit to what you're doing, it's a lot like Kickstarter. And one of the things that I would recommend doing is looking through like Kickstarter tutorials and Kickstarter best practices, because that ecosystem has really nailed down the whole sell it before you make it. And people get millions of dollars on Kickstarter for good product ideas. And I think that you have, from what you shared with me, you have some really good product ideas. You just have to come up with what your timeline is, and then set a realistic expectation amongst your customers. And then also keep them up to date on a regular basis. Like, tell them, look, I'm going to send out a weekly updates newsletter.
Okay, I need to be clear
And
about that.
then, send out the weekly updates newsletter that is like, hey, this is Thomas, and like do a video and put it on YouTube.
So I have this one particular question about accepting funds. Part of the project is that, the limiter is that right now it has one API capability for a third party, and there's lots of other third party providers that people would want it to be connected to. And so it costs money. It's expensive to build the API endpoints into the system. My developer, I'm also trying to manage his bandwidth, right? So he's one guy, and he's got a team of like 12 that is like helping, but so in terms of prioritizing which endpoints to establish for people so it can be a viable product. Do I take money and say, okay, now I have this money. Now the money that actually has come in, we pay, and I could pay him or potentially someone else to work on it. I don't even know. But just to enable capabilities to make it kind of formidable. And then if people give money, but it's like a small little, company with their APIs that could be messy and more expensive because it takes longer. Do I take their money and then after a certain period be like, okay, well, it doesn't make sense, and then kind of have a return policy type thing? Like, these are the sort of questions I have to start thinking through setting this up.
So what I would do first is survey your audience and have, like, before you collect any money, find out what they want. Right.
And
So for like
yeah, it's
for like
challenging.
30 days, run maybe Facebook ads or something like that for what people want. Identify what in priority the different integrations that you need to set up, and then tell people, hey, look, you can be on the wait list for this integration, or you can pay for this integration, which is coming in 30 days. Because, and then once you finish the integration that's coming in 30 days, you grab the next integration and move it up into the pay status and email everyone on the wait list and say, hey, look, buy this integration, it's coming in 30 days. Here's the pre-sale offer. It's 50% off. Right? Or you can buy it after it comes out, and it's going to be 100% of what my pre-sale offer was. And that's the mechanic. Are you familiar with AppSumo? AppSumo is the gold standard for doing this. Like, the mechanics behind AppSumo are essentially lifetime offers that fund the development of the software. So you get an MVP that is like just the streamlined VRS integration, and you launch that MVP and then have other people pay you to do the other integrations. And you say, hey, coming soon, this is the one that's going to be released next, then this, then this, then this. And you unlock those features either as pre-sale or LTDs. Because the actual cost of utilization is fairly low. Infrastructure is cheap, right? So even if you have a bunch of lifetime deals out there, like, infrastructure is cheap. So it's the expensive part is the sales and marketing. Like, that's why, and we talked about this last week, that's why Salesforce costs so much money. It's not because their product costs more than HighLevel. It's because they have a drastically different business model that focuses on enterprise sales agreements, which are incredibly costly to establish. But their actual software infrastructure cost is probably identical to HighLevel's. So, Patrick, tell me about any kind of things that you're struggling with from a sales standpoint, any feedback you have on what I've said so far. I'd love to kind of get your input.
Sure, thanks for asking. Good conversation. I have struggled with that in the past as far as getting ready to get ready, and trying to get better at that. But I have been running my own companies for 40 years, so got a little bit of more practice in it than most in here. But still can go down that rabbit hole, When I first got into Go High Level, I kind of did that a couple of years ago. And now I'm trying to get better. I just did another launch with a buddy of mine, and we launched a product, and we were collecting $1,000 a month from some people, and we didn't even have anything to give them yet. So,
That's the best.
it was like, all of a sudden it was like, he was selling it, and I'm like, oh, great. Now I got to go put that together. But learned a lot along the way, did a lot of fun stuff. My biggest problem in sales is, well, I have two problems. One is acquisition, trying to find the right people. And I do a lot. I tend to, in the past, I built all my businesses off of relationship marketing. I actually wrote a book on relationship marketing back in the 90s, and built up some proactive referral systems and things like that. But that's not self-sustaining in the world that I'm in right now. So uh, getting in front of new people has been a little struggle. So I'm switching gears right now and trying to go to the webinar model on a regular basis because I'm pretty good at being on webinars. I can do presentations kind of blindfolded. But the problem with that is I've always been a coach and educational guy. So asking for the sale can be something I don't focus on, you know? So I kind of let things be more laissez-faire when it comes to that. And I need to probably do a better job of uh,
Oops, you still with us, Patrick? We'll wait a second for him to unfreeze.
do a webinar, but I don't leave until they either bought or dropped off the call. You know, and I went, okay, that's a better way to do it than I am. So
Yeah, I think that you raised a really good point of there's got to be a happy balance between discovery, education, and sales. And this is something that at some point you have to ask for the deal, right? At some point you have to say, like, I have given this customer so much information that either they're overloaded or they're ready to buy. And what you don't want to do is overload the customer with information. So one of the things that I found, Alex Schlinsky teaches this really well, so does Andy Audate, is peppering in the opportunity throughout, like talking about what it costs. And hey, if you're ready, to purchase, here is the link to purchase. If you're not ready to purchase, tell me why. And then
that's what I've got to do. That's definitely what I have to do.
You have to get that dynamic feedback from the customers. Set a time limit for yourself, right? If you introspectively know that you are an educator and you have a habit of overselling people, because that's what happens is you oversell them at some point. Are
Yep.
you familiar with the 4 different buying personas? The logic behind the 4
Maybe.
different. So buying persona 1 is the person who's ready to buy right out the gate, right? They land on your website or they come to your webinar with a check in hand and they're like, I know I want this because you've already pre-established what your offer is for them. Buying persona 2 is someone who is maybe evaluating, they know they have a need, they have the funds to purchase, but they may be evaluating a couple different vendors and they're still ready to make the decision, but they need a little bit of influence or education to be ready to make that decision. Buying persona 3 is the person who's more analytical. They want more information. They are evaluating different vendors and they still have the funds to purchase, but they really need like an in-depth tutorial and understanding of data behind what you're doing. And the buying stage 4 is the tire kicker / person who maybe doesn't know, they know they need it at a surface level, but it's not painful enough for them yet, right? So your job as a salesperson, especially on webinars, even in one-to-one sales, is to escalate their buying persona systematically throughout the call. And when you're doing your webinars and you're structuring your sales calls, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many, what you do is you start with all the people that are ready to purchase. If you know you have people in your audience that are, and you can always start at buying stage 2, right? If you don't have anybody that you know in your audience is ready, or maybe you haven't refined that enough, give them enough information and then tell them, hey, look, if you're interested in buying, guys, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. At any point in time, feel free to ask questions, or stop me throughout this presentation. And what you're doing is you're going to hit at different time points every single buying stage, thereby escalating them to either the next or the first buying stage where they have the money, the checks in hand. The hardest buying stage to hit is number 4, because you haven't established that it's painful for them enough yet. So last week, we talked a lot about selling on pain, selling on value, not widgetizing what you're offering. And I think that that ties directly in to what you're saying about needing to, get to the point where you're closing them. You have to make them feel the pain and then immediately give them a pain pill. Because if you don't, what happens is their brain just kind of switches off. You get like an overload, right? So start timing yourself and say, hey, look, okay, and build it into your presentation that you have staged points in your speaker notes of when you need to drop the Zoom link in the chat. And it's okay to drop the Zoom link like 90 times in the chat. It's not a problem. Like Extendly does it all day long. Pro Tools does it a little bit less than I'd like. And I think that's one of the things that I'm working with our team on. But there are a lot of companies out there that do it really well where they have, and the other thing you can have is a partner on the call that is kind of like your administrative assistant. That's something that Andy Date does really well. Is he has his administrative assistant sit on the call and drop the link for people that are ready to purchase. Because what happens is once they hit, you have like a half-life on their buying stages. As you escalate them, it's kind of like a bell curve, right? As you escalate them to buying stage 1 at the top of the bell curve, you keep educating them and they start falling off and they end up trailing back into their original buying stage because you've over provided the information to them. So my recommendation,
Totally what I do. Yeah, totally what I do.
yep. So my recommendation to you would be to put it in your speaker notes of when you're going to drop the link in the Zoom chat. Adhere to those speaker notes and time yourself on the different, like put in, your internal like Google Doc of how you're going to run the webinar and your general script. It's okay to write out your script and have it be scripted. Like the best webinars that people run that are designed for sales are scripted. So, use ChatGPT to help you with your script, explain to it that you want to hit the 4 different buying stage personas. It'll know what you're talking about. And then leverage that to time yourself on when you're going to try and hook and reel in each one of those different people. What's up, Dan Doyle? How are you?
What's happening? I jumped in late. I'm assuming you're talking webinar sales.
Yeah, man. So we're talking a little bit about webinar sales. We're talking about, we talked with Thomas Wisby about the glass ceiling that we impose on ourselves. And the biggest customer objection is not actually a customer objection. It's an internal objection. And that internal objection is I'm not ready, or I'm getting ready to get ready, as Patrick phrased it, which was very well phrased. We have this habit of telling ourselves that we're not ready and our product isn't ready and we can't get out there and sell it. And so one of the things that we were talking about is how, you can sell a product well before it's built as long as you communicate expectations appropriately. And once you communicate those expectations appropriately and you set deadlines for things to happen, it incentivizes you. It almost like forces you, like drags you kicking and screaming across the different finish lines. So, and then one of the things we were also talking about with Patrick and Thomas is how it boils down to kind of a psychological perception that we put on our, or have of ourselves, that our product and or we aren't ready, and someone isn't going to provide, someone isn't going to find value in what we're offering. So we've just been talking a little bit about how to overcome those internal objections, how to break through that glass ceiling, Patrick was talking about how he has a habit of overselling people and over educating them. So we were talking about the different buying personas and different buying stages. Tell me about, like, what would you say you struggle with the most from a sales standpoint?
Sales standpoint for me is just not doing enough consistent prospecting. And that's something I'm working on. You and I were talking about the power dialer that we're going to build, and
Yep.
I'm getting some VAs, and maybe some other, I've got some nieces and nephews that are in college looking for some money this summer. And I found, like, if you back up to what they're saying, I didn't believe my SaaS was good enough until, I don't know, I probably had like 5, 10 people using it, and I signed them all up in the period of like 2 months. And I was like, oh shit, it's actually, they're really happy with it and super simple. they weren't looking for anything uh special. So my biggest thing for sales is I got to get in front of more people, and that's got to be, like, especially now with AI being where it's at, that's my goal for this year.
Have you tried automating some of that prospecting?
I have tried automating some of it in the past, and one of the things that I've found, um I've run ads, I've done some other things to try to get people into funnels that way. But I'm finding that for kind of the way I want to introduce the product, which is, hey, let me send you this quick video. It's like a 2-minute VSL, and then they can call the demo number of the AI, that it's almost just easier to just talk to people or get out into spaces where people are physically present, and either let them hear it on my phone or just say, hey, call this number real quick. If you're standing there, they're less skeptical.
Yeah, that's fair.
you know
One of the things I found to be really successful for doing that is chambers of commerce and professional organizations. So, like, I've spoken at geez, in the last like 3 months, probably 50 different stages of professional organizations and chambers of commerce. And one of the things that you have to do and have to understand is that you can't sell while you're on the stage. That's part of the agreement you make with the Chamber of Commerce or the professional organization, is that if the sale happens naturally, that's okay. But, and you can provide an offer and explain to people about the offer, but you can't be like, go buy my product right now. So you have to kind of indirectly massage your way into getting them to have curiosity and getting them to recognize that they're in pain. And we talked about this last week about selling on pain and selling on value. You have to get them thinking, and then you put some sort of lead capture and lead magnet up on the screen. And the lead magnet or lead capture can be, hey, everyone in the room, get out your cell phones and text this number. Right. And then the AI starts engaging with them. Now you captured their phone number. Now, because of their curiosity, they're going to give the AI their information. And I've found that probably 7 to 8 out of 10 people in a room of 200, I get about 70 to 80% of people give their real information. And then I actually put in the bot ways to make sure that if they text in like a test email address or any of the common like test names, that it actually spits back a joke at them and says, hey, it looks like you didn't really give me your contact information. Would you mind giving me your contact information? So that's one way, like, get in front of these professional organizations, pick a radius of like up to an hour, 2 hours, whatever you're comfortable with, and just start calling. And what you want is to have essentially the webinar model in person. So like I spoke at Ohio Marine Trades Association in November, and I'm still getting leads from it. Like, I just had a guy reach out earlier this week that was like, hey, like, I finally have a couple minutes, would love to talk to you. And all I did for that presentation, it was the first presentation I'd done in probably like 4 or 5 years. And all I did for that presentation was talk about AI and how businesses right now are using AI. And then I correlated it to their specific industry by showcasing a demo of what a boatyard or yacht club could do with AI. And I just said, hey, everybody, call or text this number. And it said, hey, this is John's yacht club. What are you interested in doing? And I had the conversation AI take over from there. And it's like, tell me about your boat. What's the length? Do you need a slip? Do you plan on visiting? Do you need a temporary docking? Do you have jet skis? Do you have a reciprocal club membership? So I asked them industry specific lingo, and I didn't do a demo of a bot that was generic. So one thing that I would recommend is before you go to these different conferences and before you go to these different organizations and offer for them to speak, have a bot ready that is industry specific. And then that's the best way to get them to be like, hey, I'd love to talk about how businesses are using AI and increasing the value of the leads coming in. Would you like me to do a 30-minute presentation for your membership? It's no cost to you. I'm not going to pitch the membership. I'm just going around educating people. There is an opportunity for them to procure my services, but I'm not overtly pitching to them. This isn't a sales demo. This is really just an educational demo, and you'd be surprised how many people say yes.
Oh, I think I was muted. That's a great idea. I've been trying to do some of that locally, and I just find the BNI around here, I'm just outside Philadelphia. There's 10 different BNI chapters within 20 minutes. They're so clicky. It's not like BNI is supposed to be. And there's some chambers around here, but they I don't know. I used to work for a chamber of commerce in the neighboring county when I got out of college, and their memberships around here, they're good, but they're not what they used to be. No, but it's a great idea. I should still do it.
And professional organizations are the cream of the crop. So if I had to list it, I'd say professional organization, Chamber of Commerce, BNI. Now, if you become a BNI member and you're a member of the group and you're, doing the necessary, I think for you, you're a little bit more established and you've been around the industry because, we talked on our Zoom call one-to-one about kind of your history and things like that. I think you're a little bit more established, and pretty much everyone on this call is a little bit more established than necessarily BNI would be beneficial for. But hitting those professional organizations, even if you have no affiliation or knowledge, I'm not a boater. I don't own a boat. I have no interest in owning a boat. I can drive a boat, but I'm not very good at it, and I'll probably crash into something. So
I'll tell you another one that's not a bad angle, depending on what niche you're going in. But if anybody's in the home services space at all, and you could probably figure out other ways to kind of use this angle, but local distributors all
Yep.
have vendor days.
Yep.
And last fall, I was doing some things with the NFC Google review cards. Program them on the spot for you. And I went to a couple where they had vendor days, and I had a great response to those. And the cool thing is there's other vendors there that might be selling equipment or, something else. They're good to network with.
100%.
Yeah.
And I would say another good one is economic development organizations. Most major cities and towns have them. They're not a chamber of commerce. Their sole function is to network businesses and provide value. And oftentimes they host Wine Wednesday once a month, something like that. Offer to speak at those. Just start showing up, network with the people that are there, find the president or CEO of the economic development organization and speak to them. If you really want to pull out all the stops, and you want to get even more eyes but are willing to eat the pain, go to city council meetings. because they're stacked full of business owners and they're typically televised. So you can go in and be like, I'd like to petition for funds to be allocated towards small businesses leveraging AI solutions and helping to grow their business. And here's my statistics on what I've found is effective in the small businesses that are leveraging AI solutions. And then you're literally like pitching without pitching, and you might actually end up getting some funds out of it. So it's not a bad idea. And there's always grants and stuff like that that you can apply for where you get a public speaking opportunity. The more eyes you get and the more camera time you get, the better.
Absolutely.
So Thomas asked a question about what is the difference between the Small Business Development Council or Commission. They're basically the same thing.
I'm working with each of them right now, but it sounds like what you're talking about is something a little bit different.
So economic development organizations are typically like nonprofits that are independently established from the SBDC, or they are called the SBDC. Like but it's a nonprofit established for the promotion of economic growth in the business districts. It's not homeowners. They typically offer grants. They are usually networking focused organizations, so they host meetups. Just Google local business meetups in my area and local economic development organizations, and you'd be surprised how many pop up. They usually meet at a library, or they pick a business every month, or sometimes every week. Like the one in Lakewood meets every week, and they pick a different business in Lakewood. The business, gives some free appetizers and wine, or the economic development organization pays for some wine to be served at the business, and everyone comes and just networks. So, but it's really just about getting out there and finding those opportunities. They're great ways to basically have in-person webinars, to Dan Doyle's point. So, all right. We have about 8 minutes left. So before we sign off, does anyone have any feedback or last minute questions?
I just want to
Yeah.
say thanks for the good word and good reminders and good stuff. So I'm definitely
Yeah,
going to look at
absolutely. Happy to help. Thomas, did you have a question or anything you wanted to address?
Well, yeah, just to say thank you. Your expertise is very, very valuable, very helpful, very much appreciated. And like kind of a technical, quick question. I don't know if it makes sense to do here, but
Yeah, shoot.
so it's on forms, where it says, oh, where there's sources. I'm wondering, because I'm publishing in these different places, if for tracking, how to optimize here.
So the source is going to automatically track. Like where it says refer, it means they clicked off of the ideas.gohighlevel.com. You can put UTM parameters in each one of your links, which is totally doable. But I prefer like knowing more like the refer and stuff like that than I do, because all the source really tells you is whether or not it's like social media, if it's Google, organic search, paid search, stuff like that.
I'd like to know which of these is actually working better, or working. Yeah, so these are all from the idea board, it seems. Interesting. Okay. I'll keep messing around. Thank you for your wisdom and overcoming blocks, glass ceilings, breaking through them.
Absolutely, brother. Anytime, happy to help. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everyone attending today. I will give you 5 minutes back on your day, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. Again, my name is Mario Aldayuz. I'm the head of partnerships here at HL Pro Tools. Follow me on YouTube. It's link.tree/Mario Aldayuz. I'll drop that in the Zoom chat. My booking link is also on there, and it will be in the YouTube description as well. If you have any questions, I encourage you to book a 15-minute meeting with me, and I am happy to help you with whatever you need. So take care, guys. Have a good one.